Hello, my name is Rachel. I just want to talk about some books that I've read recently. This first book here is called Do Miracles Happen Today by Tim Chester. My husband got me this book for Christmas because it was on my Amazon wish list, so he picked it up for me. But it's a really small book, like 100 pages. All these pictures on the front are other books within this series, so they'll answer questions like, the sexes, what's the Bible say about that, what's the Bible say about marriage, what's the Bible say about angels, what's the Bible say about the church. So really great book, small book, about knowing the hot topic, controversial questions that people have that they might not know or understand or be afraid to ask. Talks about how there's two different school of thoughts when it comes to the subject of miracles in the church. The first belief that people have about miracles is that miracles happen all the time, and all you have to do is pray about it and pray hard enough and believe hard enough that it will come true, and God will basically grant the miracle for you. The other school of thought is that miracles never happen in our day today, and many Christians even go as far as to believe that miracles have never happened, like not even in the Bible. They can all be explained like scientifically or whatever. And then there's a third school of thought where people are like in the middle, where they believe that miracles do happen, but they are a rare thing. They don't happen that much at all. So, yeah, he just goes through talking about like the definition of miracle. Some people will say that a miracle is when a child is being born, and he says like, yeah, a child being born is beautiful and wonderful and it's amazing, but it's not a miracle, because a miracle is basically something that happens outside of nature. And a child being born is very natural. It happens every second. A child's born around the world, but it's not unnatural. A miracle is something that happens that's unnatural. So like Jesus walking on the water, it's very unnatural. That's why it's called a miracle. So, he just goes through how miracles happen, why they happen, do they happen today? He talks about how they do happen, but they have reasons for why they happen. One pattern is that a lot of miracles are seen on the front lines of missionary work. So like if a culture that missionary goes to like has never heard of Jesus, never heard of God, a lot of times miracles will be reported within that missionary work, because God's given those missionaries the ability to be heard by those people. So if those people see the miracles, then they can have the ability to have more faith in Jesus, because he gave them authority for the miracles to happen. The other reason is because if the Bible is absent, same thing, giving authority to the person speaking, to the Christian speaking, so that people can believe in God's word where the Bible like isn't there. Like for example, in China, I believe they don't allow Bibles there. So I don't know if there's a lot of miracles in China, but if there were, that would be the reason, is because the Bible is absent in that area. Where the occult is strong is where they also see miracles being happen to prove and show, that Jesus has more authority and is stronger than the demons that might be working in those people's lives. Just like Jesus did in the Old Testament, he would show power over the demons and that he has authority over them. And then it says when believers are immature, that miracles have happened. So yeah, I just thought that was really interesting. I myself have never witnessed like a miracle happening. I've seen God working in my life. I've seen God moving. Yeah, I've seen God in my life. I would not ever claim to say that I've seen a miracle, been known anybody that's seen a miracle. If you have, wonderful. I would never want to like discredit your what I believe that you've seen. I can believe in Jesus without seeing that miracle. So that might be why I've never been witnessed to a miracle. So, do miracles exist? Great book if you're interested in topics that are like, trying to get comfortable here. Great book if you want to know about subjects in the Bible that like you're not sure about. The other books that they have in the series are Can I Really Trust the Bible? Why Bother with the Church? What Happens When I Die? Why did Jesus have to die? How Can I Be Sure? I don't know what that one's about. Did the devil make me do it? How will the world end? Where was God when that happened? Like probably like evil in the world. Is heaven for real? Who on earth is the Holy Spirit? Is forgiveness really free? What makes us human? And is God anti-gay? So yeah, just really great subjects, especially if you have friends or family who are not Christians and things and like subjects that they might be struggling with. Like if you were to read up on this so you can have the information, the knowledge to give to them whenever they need it or ask for it, I highly suggest that book. The next book I wanted to talk about is You Can Stay Home with Your Kids by Erin Odom. 100 tips, tricks, and ways to make it work on a budget. I got this at Ollie's for $4. So I got this just because I've been a stay-at-home mom for 10 years now. I just recently picked up this book there. So I know how to stay at home on a budget. The reason I picked this book up is because me and my husband are actually on a budget right now, and I thought maybe I had some ways on how to stay home, or not, ways on how more that we can save with our budget. So this book is real quick, real easy. It has some really great ways to stay on a budget, or not how to stay on a budget, to be able to stay home, how to financially be able to stay home. Well, I'll share with you my story. I've been a stay-at-home mom for like 11 years now, almost 11 years. And when I was first pregnant with my daughter, I just knew I had to stay home with her. Like, there is no question. I was going to do anything I could to stay home with her. There's no way I could have handed her over to, somebody, some stranger, some family member. Like, there's no way I could have done that. Mentally, I would have been a wreck, like, at work. So that was a part of piece of contention. I don't know how to say that. It was very contentious with me and my husband when I was pregnant. I remember I was very pregnant, and I was at my parents' house, and I was crying because me and my husband had like this discussion over and over and over again. He wanted me still to work because he was afraid he wasn't going to be able to provide enough for us, and I wanted to stay home. And so finally, probably a month before I had her, I had to stay home, like, on bed rest. So I had to basically quit my job anyways, because I was working for a preschool, and like the summer was coming and all that kind of stuff. So I just quit, and I knew I didn't want to go back there anyways. But yeah, I never went back. And my husband, I think he just I think God really worked in that way in our life where we didn't even have to fight about it. It just kind of happened the way it happened. And when, after we had her, you know, a month or so later, I was like, do you want me to go back to work? And he's like, no, you're good. We can make it. We'll make it work. We'll figure it out. You know, and he's not making big bucks by any means. He's a truck driver. So we ain't rolling the dough by any standards. But we were able to just, you know, keep it, just be able to make it work for us. There's been times when it's been extremely tight. There's been times where I thought about going back to work, but it just never worked out. We have 4 kids now. And I just want to say, if you're not a stay-at-home mom, like, more power to you. Like, I have friends too who, like, couldn't deal with staying at home because it would drive them crazy. But if you are a person who has that huge desire in your heart, I think that's placed there by God, and you should listen to it. And, you know, read all the books you can to help you be able to stay at home. Watch the YouTubers that are like professional stay-at-home mom bloggers. You know, they'll give you tons of tips and tricks and stuff like that. It takes a lot of sacrificing, you know, like I can't just go get, you know, I used to love to buy a ton of clothes before, and there was years when I hadn't bought something new for years, you know, so it does take sacrifice, but I totally believe it can be done, as long as you just get out of like the materialistic mindset of we have to have so much stuff in order to make, like, live, and that's not the truth. You don't need that much stuff. Sorry. My dog's just waking up here. Okay, so this book, sorry, I just talk forever about my own stuff. So it will go through ways to save money, and it will have at the top here, like this one is foaming hand soap, like how to make, if you make your own hand soap, you can save a lot of money, and this is how you make the hand soap. Air freshener, make your own air freshener, those kind of things, so that you don't have to, or you can save money, basically. One thing I thought was really helpful in here, and one thing I thought that was really helpful in here is she talks about budgeting and how you need to set up a budget. And just recently, actually, me and my husband set up a budget less than 6-8 months ago. We've never been on a budget before. We would just spend our money however we felt like spending it. You know, the bills would always get paid, but then if we had leftover money, we'd just spend it however. We never had a savings account. Like, we could not save money if our life depended on it. Well, just recently we started this budgeting. I cannot tell you, like, how much money we've saved, how many things we've paid off, it's amazing the amount of money that we were wasting week by week. So I would highly recommend getting on a budget. See, like, I think the problem for us is when I heard the word budget, like, I was the one, like, I don't want to be on a budget. I don't want to be told I can't do this, I can't do that. But when you're on a budget, you don't have to be told what you can and can't spend. You can spend, like, let's say typically you spend $200 a week for groceries, then that can be your budget. If you want to make it higher so you won't go over it, you can. And be like, okay, well, my budget's going to be $300. I typically spend $200, but I'm just going to stay below $300. It's amazing. Just doing something as simple as that, like, helped us out. For 10 years, like, we could have saved so much money. We could be, like, millionaires right now with how much money we saved. So I highly recommend budgeting. One lady, I would listen to Dave Ramsey, and I liked his stuff, but I didn't understand how to use like the envelope system. Like that was really what I think held me up a lot. So I was listening to this one lady one day, and she's called the Budget Mom on YouTube, and she broke down the envelope system. And then if you will look on YouTube, there's so many people who are doing like envelope systems nowadays. Very, very helpful. I highly suggest setting up a budget with your family. The Budget Mom has a workbook, which I got, which you just basically, every time you get paid, on like a payday, you make a budget for that week. This is how much we're going to spend in food. This is how much we're going to spend in gas. It's usually the same each week, but that's what you do each week when you get your paycheck, and it just helps you know where your money's going, and you budget it down to zero. So every single dollar has a place to go. So you're not just like, oh, I have, the $500 left for this week. I'll just spend it wherever I feel like spending it. That's, I think, where me and my husband got into a lot of financial problems. But anyways, I do recommend this book. I would say that me and my husband were already doing like 90-95% of this stuff in here. But for those people who aren't thrifty people in the first place, I would recommend this book too. It talks about like how to find a job, staying at home if you need to have additional income. It talks about like cheap ways to entertain your family. It talks about, cleaning products that you can make from home so you don't have to buy them. It talks about how to buy groceries cheaply. What else? Yeah, just basically different ways to save money. Me and my husband did not come from money, so most of the stuff we already knew. Like, for example, not using hot water to wash your clothes because it costs more money for your water bill. That's just something ingrained in you when when your family doesn't make a lot of money. So yeah, I would recommend this book. But if you're a stay-at-home mom, you probably know most of the stuff that's in here anyways. But if you're not a stay-at-home mom, if you're new or wanting to be, or thinking about, or praying about, I do suggest this book. Even if it gives you 5 tips that you can start doing, I think that will definitely help you with budgeting and staying home with your kids. The next book I read is called The Scientific Facts in the Bible. 100 Reasons to Believe the Bible is Supernatural in Origins. This is by Ray Comfort. Some of you may know who Ray Comfort is. He's a evangelist on YouTube, and he goes to I think he lives in California, and he goes to the boardwalk in California and just talks to people there and evangelizes to them. And he has this amazing step-by-step process of how he brings people to Jesus. So anyways, if you don't know who Ray Comfort is, check him out on YouTube. He's pretty good at what he does. But yeah, so there's supposed to be 100 reasons in here why to believe in the Bible. So I got this book a while back. I just haven't, I think I got this book from actually the Ark Museum. We went a long time ago, and I got this book then. And I just recently read it because I've been into more science stuff in the Bible, artifact stuff in the Bible. So anyways, he gives, I I would say for me, I knew about most of the stuff in here. Some of the stuff I was like, oh, I've never heard that before. But most of the stuff I've already heard about. Like, for example, back in the 1500s BC, people believed that the earth was flat, or that the earth was like being held up by like a turtle or an elephant or something like that. But during that time period, Job wrote in the book of Job, he hangs the earth upon nothing. And so they're saying that Job knew, I'm sorry, not about the flatness of the earth. That's not about the flatness of the earth. This is about how the earth is, being held up by nothing, basically. So, Job knew that the earth was being held up by nothing not because he knew, but because God told him that. And so he wrote that down. Well, how would Job have known that if back in that time period they had assumed that, an animal was holding up the earth? Because God was talking to him. So yeah, it talks about a lot about stuff like that. What else? Oh, the Bible talks about the oceanography, about, let's see here, the paths in the sea. And in 1806 time period, the 1800s, nobody knew what the paths in the sea were until Matthew Maury, in 1806, decided to find out what the paths in the sea was, because he was a sailor, and he realized that there are paths in the sea that lead, that ships will go on, and they'll just lead you to all over the world on these paths. Well, back then people didn't know anything about it. Was it Job? No, it says Psalms. It was written in Psalms 8 about the paths in the sea. How did they know about back then when they weren't sailing the oceans, that we know of? Well, he knew it because God told David, whoever wrote that psalm, to write it in the Bible, and proving that God is God and he created the paths in the sea, and therefore he knows what he created, even though man didn't know about it at the time. So yeah, I've heard a lot of this stuff. I wish there was more. I feel like there's more science stuff in the Bible than what he put in this book. So I wish he would have put more in there. It talks about the dinosaurs and Behemoth. What else? It talks about germs and how, why did God tell the Jews to wash their hands, or to, what is it called? Why did God give the Jews the hygienic laws that he gave them? Well, because God knew about germs, even though the Jews at that time period, when he was given these laws, they didn't know what germs were. But God knew what germs were, so he taught his children how to stay clean, even though they didn't understand the idea of germs. They didn't understand the unseen world. So, yeah, I think it's a good book. If you don't know a lot of the scientific stuff that's in the Bible, I highly suggest it because it's really interesting. Another part I thought was really interesting is he talks about scientists in the Bible, and how he'll have a quote here from Albert Einstein about his belief in God. And he has probably, I'd say, 20 or so scientists throughout the years and generations who have, he has Sir Isaac Newton, and what he says about God. He has Leonardo da Vinci and what he says about God. So all these famous scientists who believed in God and what they had to say about God. I think that's really interesting. People who were very well known, like Abraham Lincoln, Christopher Columbus, and what they said about the Bible. I think I have one here I thought was really interesting. So Napoleon, who I did not know was like a Christian or a believer in the Bible at all, he says, what does he say? I know men, and I tell you that Jesus Christ is no mere man. Between him and every other person in the world, there is no possible term of comparison. Alexander, Caesar, Charlemagne, I don't know what that name is, and I have founded empires. But on what did we rest the creation of our genius? Upon force. Jesus Christ founded his empire upon love. And at this hour, millions of men would die for him. I never knew Napoleon said anything about Jesus, but he's like, we took over countries by force and murder and all that kind of stuff. He's like, but Jesus took over his empire by love, and people would just die for him immediately. So I thought that was super interesting. He talks about archaeology in the Bible, which I am super interested in. Talks about the Dead Sea Scrolls. Okay, so the parts about archaeology I wish were a little bit more stronger for me, because I know that there's so many archaeological finds and that are out there that give proof or verify the Bible's word. So I wish there was more of that. But this is towards the end here, and I just thought this was very interesting. How many unsolved murder cases do you think were in the United States in 1990 to the year 2000? So that's 10 years, and how many unsolved murder cases do you think happened? He says that it was 100,000 unsolved murder cases that has happened in the U.S. That is so many. That is, 10,000 each year unsolved murders in the U.S. That's correct. No wonder IE has, murder shows 24/7. Like, it's just crazy how many. It's amazing how many unsolved murders there are, but then, like, how many people are murdering people? It's just nuts. Okay. So then he just goes on to talk about how, those people won't ever, probably will never see a judge for their murders and their crimes. Like, don't the people that died deserve justice for their lives being taken away from them? And how we should be happy that God is a judge and God is a good judge, so that the wrongs that have been done in this lifetime, they may go unanswered in our life or in these people's lives, but they will not go unanswered in eternity. That was just very hit home for me. So yeah, I just can't believe 10,000 murders each year go unsolved. It's nuts. Okay, so I'd recommend this book. I like Ray Comfort. He makes good stuff. He is not afraid to share the gospel at all. So yeah, I recommend this book, or really any of his books, most of his books. And he is a great person to watch for evangelism, how to talk to people about the gospel, and not be afraid to do it. So, recommend his books. I would say out of these 3 books, the one I would recommend the most would probably be this one, just because I really like the science and archaeology aspect of things. So, if you guys have any questions, comments about these books, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you. Or if you just want to talk to me about maybe you know some more science or archaeology books, I would love to know about those. Or if you want to talk to me about being a stay-at-home mom, love to hear about that too. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.